My story tonight is called "Love is the Best Thing That Humans Do." But before I go there, I'm going to spend a few moments talking about maybe one of the worst things that humans do, which is judging love. Kind of sensitive to that because I'm very well aware that if my wife and I had been born a generation or so earlier, that our marriage would have been illegal in parts of this country. It was only a few years before I was born that the Supreme Court case Loving versus Virginia overturned interracial marriage. Before that, interracial couples were driven out of their homes, arrested, had their marriages annulled by the state. Their love wasn't just judged. It was criminal. And I'm sure we can sit here and say, well, that was a long time ago. Thank God we moved past that. But I do think about the language that they use today to describe gay couples, trans couples, non-traditional families. They say it's unnatural, unholy, disgusting, and not real. Same sort of language today, right? Sounds familiar. And anytime I hear someone say that someone's love is not real, I can't help but think, who the fuck are you to tell someone else that their love is not real? Thank you. Love is not a rule that we draw a box around and say, that's love. Love is an experience meant to be felt by one person. It doesn't need to be explained. It does not need to be signed off on. It just needs to be felt. And the second we tell someone that what they're feeling when it's love is not real, we don't just cheapen their love, we cheapen all of it. Even, let's say Melania Trump's love for Donald. I don't get it. Perhaps you don't get it. Frankly, a lot of it seems like a cry for help. I find it kind of gross and disgusting and wonder if there's some sort of mental health therapy that can fix whatever's going on in her head. But come on, even after all that, who am I to take away her happiness? If that is her love, if that is her person, that is on her. Love does not need to make sense to outsiders. It only needs to make sense to the people in it. And I know that first and foremost because of my parents. You see, their love story, I consider it a fairy tale. Not in a Disney sense. There was no ball gowns or castles, right? But they overcame a world that said they should not be together, and they did it anyway, and they built a life. You see, my parents met in 1950s India. They lived across the street from one another. They grew up together. One day, in a state of boldness, my dad, at the age of 13, said to my mom, "I am going to marry you one day." My mom looked at him, this skinny, intellectual boy, and she laughed. And this is because back in India, this was the days of arranged marriages and a caste system. My dad was poor and of a different caste. So when she laughed, she knew that it was because the world was going to say they could not belong together. But she tells the story and she says that inside her, she felt something cosmic. Like something went through her that even though she knew it made no sense, the inside of her knew. And so these two grew up, remained friends. This boy across the street, this girl with the cosmic feeling. My mom had two older sisters. She watched as they grew up and they went through the traditional Indian arranged marriage process. This is where families exchanged dowries and horoscopes trying to match the best boys and the best girls. Like kids trading baseball cards or fantasy football players. My mom didn't want that. Her sister, exasperated one day, marched into my mom's room and said, "Do you see the parade of toads that they're bringing before me?" My mom didn't want a toad. She wanted someone she knew, someone she felt comfortable with, someone that made her laugh, someone that made her feel cosmic. So she had her best friend go across the street and asked my dad, now a man, "Hey, do you still want to marry her?" My dad said, "Of course." But still, in India back then, still wasn't enough. You see, my grandfather would be convinced, my mom's dad. And like I said, my dad, he was poor, his family didn't have much status. There was not much to offer in the way of a dowry. So let's just say this conversation was not going well. But everything changed when my grandfather asked one question. Literally history changed. My grandfather asked, since you don't have any money, how can I expect you to provide for my daughter? My dad said, well, I just got into grad school in America and I'm going to go there to study. My grandfather lit up. He said, you're going to school in America? You must be brilliant. They were engaged. Like that. And if this was like the fairy tales that we read growing up, it would have ended right there. Cue the music, fade to black, and they live happily ever after. And that's the lie. Their life wasn't happy. There was no happily ever after. Happily ever after skips all the best parts. The growth, the compromises, the parts where you learn to love. Love isn't found in the beginning, it's found in the journey. My parents changed continents with only $8 in their pockets. Despite all that, my dad finished grad school, broke through glass ceilings, became a very successful chemical engineer. My mom, she supported him through that, then decided she wanted to do something on her own. She became an interior designer, started her own business, became very successful. Through all that, they raised a family. They had 2 kids, one who turned out pretty fucking awesome, if I must say so myself. And now, 50 years later, their friends will tell you, without prompting, that they are the best couple that they know. That's the fairy tale, not the beginning. And I will tell you, I think of all that, and I think of my love story with my wife, and it can't compare, it just can't. And stuff. But when I dig a little deeper, I can find the similarities. You see, Jen and I, we were friends for a long time too. We were casual friends. We did bar trivia, we did bocce, birthday parties. But she was married. I was recently divorced, and I was not looking for anything. But we still saw each other. There was no meet cute, no forbidden kiss, just a lot of group outings and shared appetizers. There's only one moment that I can remember that maybe there was something more than just casual friendship, but not in a romantic sense. You see, she confided in me one time that she was going through a rough patch with her husband. But I was friends with both of them. I talked to both of them. They worked it out. They stayed together, and then eventually we all drifted apart. And that could have been the end of it. But years later, my wife reached out to me out of the blue, this time to tell me that her marriage was ending for good. At the same time, I had just lost my 17-year best friend, my dog Rocky. We decided to connect and hang out. Through all that emotional drama, we felt something. But even then, there was no fairy tale kiss. We did the most unromantic thing ever. We had an adult conversation. And we talked about the timing, the baggage, the awkwardness of it all. What would our friends say? And only once we knew we both were okay with all of it, did we decide we'd go for a little further. It took me 10 years after I met Jen until we got to our first kiss. And I think about my parents. It took them over 10 years too. And when they first met, it seemed like it didn't make sense on paper that they should ever be together. When Jen and I met, same thing. And I told you about that cosmic moment my mom had. I have to tell you, I had a similar feeling when I first met Jen. You see, when I first met her, I had this weird premonition. Like, not because she's beautiful, which she is, but like, she looked familiar. Like she was someone I was meant to know, even though I didn't yet. But even that can't and shouldn't end with we lived happily ever after. Jen and I still have a long way to go. And it's not gonna always be easy. But you see, there's something else. I was not expecting to fall in love twice, but I did. Jen has a daughter who was 3 when we first met. I couldn't have loved her when we first met. She was a 3-year-old stranger, but she's now 10, and I love her as if she's my own. This is what has reinforced to me that love is not found in the perfect beginning. Sometimes it just shows up, and it stays, and it endures. But that's why it's love. It's not about the perfect beginning. It is about the journey. It is about being the hand that holds, the ear that listens. It's about being the shoulder that comforts, the smile that brightens, the laughter that heals, the arms that embrace. It's about being the voice that celebrates. It's about being everything that the other person needs, not just in the beginning, not just in one moment, not just when things are happy, but every moment, over and over and over again. That is love. And that's what my parents taught me. That is what I want to give to Jen. That is what I plan to give to my daughter for the rest of my life. And trust me, I know it's not going to be easy, but that's why love is the best thing that humans do. Not because it's easy. It's not perfect. It never is perfect. It's complicated. It's messy, right? But we choose to keep doing it. We choose to keep showing up. Love is the best thing that humans do. And no one, not the courts, not the critics, not the culture, can tell you that your version of it is not real. Because, damn it, love is love. And once you feel it, you know. Thank you.